Hello friends, now let us take up the concept number 7.7, array of primitives and array of references. So far I have been explaining the concept briefly in different previous concepts contextually. That brief knowledge is not enough. You must have perfect command over this concept. Then only you can understand future concepts very easily and comfortably. That's why let us consolidate our knowledge on these concepts and let us work out the corresponding programs. Then only you can own the concept. If you are really comfortable, 100% understanding over these concepts and all that, uh, this knowledge enables you to understand future concepts very comfortably and logically. That point you must understand. That's why even if it is a duplication also, I am explaining all the points relating to arrays of primitives and array of references in detail. Now first you see array of primitives. I am declaring this is int square bracket ages new int 5. Okay, now this is the declaration using new. So then you can visualize this like this. Because of this reference variable is created. Because array is a reference variable, array is an object, it is a reference variable. That's why first we have to declare reference variable and thereafter new int 5 we have to tell the size of the array. Then only new can get allocated required amount of memory. So we have put it here 5. And once again I am telling you, here you should not mention the size because it is a mere reference variable. So its name is ages and its type is int array. That's all. It is representing the type of ages. So this is int array. That's why you should not give size here. Thereafter new, here if you don't give size, new cannot understand how much amount of memory is required. So that's why you must give size here, otherwise it leads to error. So how size is defined? Size is evaluated int. What is the size of int? You know that 4 bytes. Now how many elements you require? 5 elements. 4 bytes and 5 elements. 20 bytes are allocated. New get allocated 20 bytes of memory on the heap. That point you have to understand. And initially I didn't give values. So then what is the second job of new? First it gets the required amount of memory allocated on heap. The second one is it initializes all array elements with the default value of the corresponding type. What is the corresponding type here? Int. What is the default value of that? 0. For all integer values, default values are 0. That means for byte, short, int, long, the 0 is default value. The second activity of new is it fills all the elements with zeros. And the third one, actually now object is ready. This object is ready. It is having a reference. Reference means don't call it, but you understand it, an address. So new assigns that address to the reference corresponding reference variable. Then 3 operations new performs. As a result of that, here numbers are there. This is subsequent one. So zeros will be there. This you have to understand. Okay. Now Here already I told you it is 0 base index. If you have to access the elements of the array, age is 0, age is 1, age is 2, age is 3, age is 4. Age is 5 you should not go. If you write age is sub 5, that means you are crossing the boundary. It leads to throwing an exception. Exception means time being, you understand, a runtime error. That is, arrays out of bound exception is thrown. Array index out of bounds exception is thrown. That point you remember. This is a common error. You must be very careful. First element should be accessed ages by 0, and last element should be accessed by ages 4, not 5, with a reference to this example. Okay, one more point I have to tell you. Now, immediately after this, if you want to access any of the elements of ages, then actually array is not created, only reference is created. Then if you want to access array, it leads to throwing an exception called null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. That point also you must remember that. And one more thing, as soon as you declare this part, means reference variable, what is the status? The status is this, and it refers null, null literal. That point you remember, because there are numerous points, each and every point you must remember, and you must own it permanently. So that's why every time I am repeating the concepts. So this is the thing. At this stage, all these elements are filled with zeros. Now I want to initialize. If I want to initialize, same declaration you write. Thereafter, initializer list you write. Initializer list. Now 25, 23, 5 values I have given. Here one precaution. What is that? Here you have given size. When you are initializing, you should not give a size. If you give size, it leads to an error. And one more thing, after this, it should be terminated by semicolon. As a result of this, this is created. As a result of that, now you see 25, 23, 22, 24, 20. All the elements replaces the previous 0, and these elements are, these values are filled. That point you have to understand. And this is the actual definition. Now the simplified one. This is array initializer method, or C style of definition. In this thing, simply defining a reference variable has no use. So along with that, you should initialize that. You have to initialize that a int ages, and this one here new int is ignored. Then you may get a doubt where these are allocated. These are also allocated on heap only. You must remember that. Now without new, without using new operator, how these are stored on heap? You may, how memory is allocated on heap, how these values are stored, you may get it out. Already I told you, new perform three operations. So if new is not there, who will perform those operations? One thing I am telling you, the Java developers, in order to provide convenience to the programmers and all that, they entrusted certain responsibility to the compilers. Actually, programmers have to do that, but in order to provide convenience and ease in the programming, certain jobs are entrusted to the compiler. Those are performed internally by the compiler. Don't worry about that. Instead of you, this is created by the compiler. However, you must remember, even if you use array initializers also, it is created on heap. Created on heap, the same initialization will be done, and you can visualize this like this also with this definition. You must understand. In this case also, always I am telling you, don't give size. System will take, depending on the number of elements and the type, it takes it takes into consideration and evaluate and necessary amount of memory is allocated. That point you have to understand, and all the points I have explained, and with the reference to this figure you own it. And if still if you have any doubts and all that, you can mail us. And one thing I am telling you, as as far as Java chapters are concerned, you complete the entire chapter. If you, at one point of time, if you feel some doubt also, after completion of the entire chapter, almost it may be clear. That's why you should have perseverance and patience in learning Java. So in this manner you understand array of primitives. After understanding array of primitives, now let us focus on array of references. Before explaining this concept, I would like to give some explanation on string class. Actually, in the next chapter, we will study strings. Time being, you understand that. Actually, string is a class which is provided by API, standard library, standard Java library. So, string is used very frequently like array. That's why Java has provided the simple definition, a simple type of declaration, because arrays are being used frequently in our programming. So Java developers would like to reduce the burden of the programmers. That's why the alternative definition, that too for a simple arrays, they have provided. Actually, this is the format. String is a class. Now for string also you must use new, but this is a string also very frequently used. More than array we use strings. That's why the simplified definition is provided. Suppose you see that string name. First to understand string. Suppose you have declared it like this. Then this is object reference. String class object reference. As a result of that, what happens? One reference variable is created of the string and its name is name. And you must remember that what is the default value of a class? Then that is null. That is null. Null literal, that you have to understand, because I didn't initialize that. Now I want to initialize it with a name rom. Then what happens? This is the picture. For this purpose you need not use new and all that. Actually that is the formal definition. I have to use new. For the sake of simplicity, to reduce the burden of the programmers, Java provided the simple definition. Whenever you want to define a string, you can define it like array initializers. You can define it like this, because we use strings very frequently in our programming. That point you remember. And this is a reference variable, string type reference variable. Until you initialize, here it points to null. When you initialize, it points like this. First you must have that understanding. Now we have to create array of strings, array of references. Now you see, now string. Actually we want a team, string team. So first we have to declare this part. As a result of that, what happens? This is created. Just I am talking about this part only. Then as a result of that, what happens? Null, it is created. Now here new string 5, we are specifying that we want to create 5 strings array. Then this is created, and 5 strings means it is an array. So here 5 are there. Here before initialization all these are nulls, Then in the second definition you see, I initialize, entire thing is same, but I didn't use 5 here, You should not use, otherwise it leads to error. Now whatever the names are there, 5 strings, I initialize this with 5 strings. As a result of that, all these are filled. All these are filled. Now find the difference between that. Actually, string object is like a kite. String object is like a kite. Now how many kites you have? 5 kites you have. So how many strings you will have? You will have 5 strings. 5 strings means not this string, thread. 5 threads you have. Multiple threads, more than one you have, you should create an array. So in this array, you put all the threads. Array is a reference type. That's why you have to create a reference. This is the mental, you have to visualize this like this and all that. This is an array. That's why a reference is there. Each string object is an object, it is a reference type. That's why for everything a reference variable is required. With all these 5 reference variables, you created an array. This is the structure. The difference between array of primitives and array of references, you have to visualize like this. You must have clear understanding over that. And now this is the initialization. If you want to initialize them in array initializer model, you can do this. String, don't give size, team, thereafter whatever names you are giving in the same format you give here. Then also I am telling you, whatever this thing new, all this is created by the compiler. Compiler will take your responsibility and reduce your burden. That we have to understand. So these are created on heap only. Now let us come to where these are created. Actually the basic element you remember, on heap we cannot give names. On stack only we can give names. So here name is there. Here name is there. Where this is created? This is created in a stack. Here there is no name. This is an array object. This is array object. This is created on heap. This is also, these are objects. These are also created on heap. And a little later in the next chapter you learn that actually this is also heap, but as strings are different type of entities, and one string pool, a separate memory is there, separate type of memory is there on heap, and these are created on string pool. Just ignore that. Just I am giving a hint. In appropriate context I will explain to you. This is created on heap, this is also created on heap. On heap a separate zone is there, that is called string pool. There these are created. That point you have to understand. And with this understanding, now let us write the programs. Here one very important thing I have to tell you. Conceptually, if you have to understand, there is a lot of difference between C arrays and Java arrays. All this is there. But when you are writing code, you may not find any difference. What type of code you are using for C arrays, same type of code you write for Java arrays also. That's why you need not worry. But by ignoring concept, you should not go for applications. Then it will be like a blind man's walk. That I never encourage. It is not good for you. It is like without having blueprint constructing a house.